what happened in the Italian Grand Prix weekend. Right, welcome back everyone, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here back in the little podcast room we have following a very, very special race weekend here in Monza. The home race of the OCC champions, or current leaders I should say, Ferrari, and it was, what a fantastic weekend we saw. We saw unbelievable battles all the way through the 4 divisions, including rain in almost all 4 of them as well, so it really forced this weekend into being one of the most chaotic we've seen. We're going to begin with Division 4, as we do, and we're going to begin with what an unbelievable 1-2 from the Williams boys once again. I can't fault their performances. I really can't. Again, Melvin on the front row in qualifying. We've still got a 100% rate of a Williams on the front row in Division 4. Unreal. What a statistic to finish the season on. And I really hope they take it to mid-season, because we've only got 1 race left for them to do it in Hungary next weekend. But it was Melvin P2 in qualifying. At the end of the race, it was a 1-2 with Charlie finishing P1 on 10th on the grid, so uncharacteristically poor qualifying from him. Melvin securing the P2 with Boldy again on the podium in P3. Unreal drive from him as well. It is really evident, and I think the OCC will reflect this, and I'll talk about this at the end of the podcast as well, that Mercedes have picked up the pace. Mercedes have picked up the pace. They are finally challenging anything. They're not just getting overtaken anymore. They're forcing their way back up the order. And I think Baldy is a huge part in that because he's scoring big points for the team. I would be surprised if there aren't any offers for him mid-season, or there isn't interest from many teams towards his direction. We're going to move straight on to the driver winner of this race, and I cannot fault Charlie. I cannot fault the man. How are you qualifying 10th and winning again? The same way he won in Portugal, keeping those hard tyres out longer. And it's not even like he kept those hard tyres going. He finished the race on 23 lap old hards. It's not, so that means he pit on like lap 7. I'm trying to think, 27 laps, 23. No, he pitted even earlier than that. He kept the hards going all the way till the end. And I don't understand, A, how has no team picked up on this? How has every team got played by Charlie again, the same way he did it in Portugal as well? But secondly, it's not even like he was slow. Because watching Baldy, he was in P2 behind. Yes, granted, the final few laps he was getting held up by Melvin, so fair enough. But even before that, the gap wasn't getting smaller. He was on relatively fresh mediums, and Charlie's was like kind of middly hards. The gap wasn't getting slower. He was still got pace on those old hards, and he managed to finish, I think, good 8 seconds ahead of everyone else. Post penalties, I'm not too sure. Of course, post penalties, it did make it a 1-2. Baldy was originally P2. Unreal drive by the 3 of them, but I cannot fault Charlie's drive. He's done them again. Driver loser, there's only one man I can go to, and it is my boy Liam. Yeah, how would you? I can't even fathom. I mean, I'll tell you what. A bit of paddock news as well. Liam lost his temper in the chats. He went mental on Pistol Peter. If you don't know what happened, on the safety car restart, Peter was 3rd, Liam was 2nd, I believe. And was that right? Oh, no, Liam was 3rd, sorry, and Peter was 2nd. Liam went for a move on the restart, and Melvin closed the door. He went into the pit wall, fortunately not DNFing, but Liam was pushed into the pits, of course speeding as well. Of course the penalty got removed, but it cost him from P3 down to the back. That is enormously detrimental. That is potentially the worst thing that could happen, because he just pit as well. So, by far driver loser. What an unbelievable redemption drive, though. Up to P5 of ending the race, which is unreal. So fair play to Liam. So if anything, almost driver winner. But driver loser nonetheless, because who knows where he could have finished. I think he would have been challenging with the Williams and with Baldy. Absolutely no doubt in that. And of course, he's got a good championship lead right now. After this race, the gap is still 43 points to Melvin, who's in P2. Charlie very close behind, 1 point behind his teammate. So the Williams boys are charging up behind, and then Blake in P4. But yeah, very, very poor from Peter. And he's been penalised, representative of that penalty and what he did. Very, very messy thing to do. I think he's been given a quali ban and 3 penalty points. Deserved, in my opinion. Absolutely no awareness, and it cost Liam arguably the entire race, because who knows where he could have finished. So yeah, Liam, my driver loser. My team winner, it has to be Williams. Like, it can't be anyone else. Williams, unbelievable once again. I tell you what, before the start of this season, I expected to see really good teamwork in the higher divisions. See what we're seeing with Banjo and Neb up in Division 1. I did not expect to be seeing this level of teamwork in the Williams garage I'm seeing. Especially not Williams as well, which I expected to be a back market team. And they have blown us out the water. And they're securing a 1-2, a very, very deserved 1-2. A little bit of fact for you, ladies and gentlemen, which I'll be talking about in the episode that comes in the mid-season break, which is, of course, 2 away. We've got the Hungary one as well next week. But currently, as proportion, and the team principals know about this, but the public drivers don't. And I won't reveal the entire order just yet, but I will give you a little spoiler. So I have worked out the net worth of every team. What I mean by this is that I've worked out all of the driver prices, what they currently are, added with the team's budget, taking away all the liabilities, all of the penalties that they've gone. That has given me how much money every team is worth. Not just their budget, but how much money every team is worth. Of course, all of them are positive. And from that, I can compare that to where they started the season with, as in how much money, also where they are in the OCC. I've been able to get a list of all 10 teams, where and how they're performing this season. I know which team is performing the best and which is performing the worst. Williams is currently P2 in how well they've been performing. I won't say any of the rest of the order. I'll save that until a podcast mid-season. But Williams are currently the second best team on the grid on the OCC in terms of performances. Unreal. For a team principal who doesn't even race in the league, he's cooking them. I did not expect Williams to be doing this well, and they're continuing this on. My team winner, 100%. Charlie's done them all again, and Melvin, great teamwork, and I'm so glad that he managed to get that P2 off Baldy, because it's very deserved. I mean, both of them deserved it, but very deserved for him, of course. And going into the team loser of this race, I have to go for Haas. A bit of a surprise one for you. I mean, I could lean towards AlphaTauri, actually. But I will go for... You know what? I'll go for AlphaTauri. Switch my mind. AlphaTauri. Burn AlphaTauri, man. Klimak, of course, DNFing from P13, so a poor qualifying anyway. He was nowhere, and he DNF'd at the back. I think his name is Ristamo. Brand new driver. His name's Sky in F1. So Sky's very good qualifying. He's good mates with Liam, which obviously brings the challenge up to the front. Sky's qualified P4. What a great start. What a brilliant start to start your XRS career with. Starting in a P4. Very solid. I don't know what happened to him. I think it was something to do with the pit stops. It must have spun or something. But he dropped behind Melvin and then just disappeared. He finished P17, the bottom of the pack. I can't lie. I've got the highlights in front of me. No idea what happened to him. Man's disappeared. But yeah, 4th to 17th is not great. I'm sure he had his reasons, but yeah, team loser 100%, considering AlphaTauri and what they're aiming for, especially with all the holdbacks and the things that have happened to McLaren recently. AlphaTauri needs to be pushing for P2 in the OCC. They need to be pushing for P2. They can beat Alfa Romeo, they can beat McLaren, and 0 points is not the way to start the weekend, for sure. Right, we're heading over to Division 3, which is my race, and what an absolutely unbelievable race. I think that it could genuinely go down as being one of the most mental races we've had all season. Of course, it started with the rain, but it forced all the drivers to start on the slick tyres. Some of them opted for the intermediate, some of them opted to stay out on the slicks until it got dry. Obviously, many drivers staying up to the end on those long tyres, which evidently, looking over the weekend, was definitely the strat. We saw it in Division 4 as well from Charlie. Keeping the tyres for a long second stint in Monza clearly works, because the new tyres just don't have that advantage as they do in other tracks. So it's very interesting, something to note definitely for next season if we return to Monza. But let's just move on straight to driver winner. Driver winner. And look, I hold my hands up, okay? I hold my hands up. I don't want to sound big-headed, and I've given myself driver loser twice now. I've given it to myself in Spain and in Australia. I've given myself driver loser. I've never got a driver winner, and I'll gladly admit that. I like talking about other people. I like involving you lot in the audience. I like involving you and talking about you. But it's time to talk about myself. Oh my goodness me, it's been a long time coming. So I made a deal with myself. Every single time that I feel that I should get driver winner, I'll talk about someone else as well as myself, because that makes it fair, right? For driver winner, I'm giving it to your boy, Avi Tyrrell. I'm giving it to myself. Right, here is my reasoning. So, Yeah, fairly poor qualifying. And I did opt to go for the hards off the line. Can we talk about my starts, by the way? My starts continue. Both games, F1 22 and 23, my starts are unreal. I started on the hards in the wet, and I beat Mandem off the line. I was challenging for P4, and I started P8 in the wet on hards. Okay, let's just talk about that for a second, right? Unfortunately, Sponge turn 1 dropped down to last, which was 17th. Really sucked. When I was forced then to go onto the inters. If I hadn't gone onto the inters, then the man that went onto the inters would have caught me because they were so much quicker. So I was kind of forced my hand there, and then I switched back onto the slicks. A lot of people, when they went to the slicks, they went for the hards or the mediums to get themselves to the end. Ferrari obviously got the wrong strategy, went for soft. In other tracks, 100% would have been the quicker strategy. Unfortunately, Monza, it wasn't, and that's just a bad call, which is very unfortunate. Considering I was on the worst strategy, I had to stop again. I think I drove insane. I think it was one of my best driven races ever. I made on track, I think it was 26 overtakes, which I think is my highest ever race, if not maybe Silverstone in KRL, when I went last to first. Obviously, that was a sprint race, but obviously feature race, I'm only including the feature race. Obviously 27, that's including overtaking people again after the pit stops, and of course back and forth. The only time that entire race where I went back and forth with people was when I was fighting the top 3 before my pit stop. So genuinely, if I'd gone into hards, I think I would have been up there to win that race, because it was us 4 running away. Me, Gone to the Moon, Matt, and Ben. Obviously, I had to pit again, but that was the only time I was battling someone. Everywhere else, I just went past them. So yeah, it sucks, but I think that my drive was unreal. I was really impressed with myself, but it always has that sour feeling because it's not the result you want. Leaving myself out of it, I'm going to give my driver winner, that's not me, to Owls. What an unbelievable way to start your XRS career. Besides the fact that I think he led the race for a little bit when he was battling Benignu. Obviously, he went to the I believe he went to the mediums and took them to the end of the race. Really good drive. Started P13, not particularly strong. He was reserving for Alfa Romeo. But then to finish P5, to beat MCL as well, that's no joke. Obviously, MCL got caught in an instant turn 1, just like me. But to beat him, fair play. What a start for Owls. It's got on him a seat in Red Bull. I think that's very, very deserved. I think he deserves to be on track with me and with everyone else as well. Driver loser, I think the only man I can go to is CGM Glass. To start on pole and then finish, I think, 14th, it sucks. You know, especially after what a fantastic performance he put in Spain last weekend. To convert a win and then now down, and potentially another win because he started on pole, down to 14th. I think he got caught in an incident after the safety car that Bayes caused, but also he was really struggling in the wet, as in he was sliding all over the place. I think he cut turn 1 a couple times. It's tricky to see because I rate the guy, but yeah, it is what it is. Someone's got to come last, and it was him who dropped down the order significantly. My team winner for sure, Alfa Romeo. Fair play to the team, they're cooking. Nice to see them at their home race doing well as well. For Owls and MCL to finish, I think it was 5 and 6, especially since MCL got caught in a lap 1 incident with me. Well, not with me, but at the same time as me. Fair play, because I finished 4th, and Owls was the last person I overtook, and I think I got him on pens as well, actually. So, I might have taken him at the end, actually. But completely fair play. That's really good points for the team, especially since how poor the race started for both of them. Owls was in a relatively weak quality position, and MCL got taken out at the start. So, to make 2 redemption drives, both in the same team, I'm sure Dodo will be glad with that. And like I said, very glad that Owls is on track with us, with a seat now. My team loser, I think this is going to come to no surprise either. I'm definitely going to say Williams. Skiz and Caddy. I rate the guys. I think I spoke to Skiz after the race. Seems like a lovely lad. But yeah, goodness me, was this a poor race for both of them. Penalties left, right, centre. They got post-race. Just seemed relatively dangerous. They just seemed a bit dangerous, to be honest. Getting themselves into 3 penalty point incidents. I will say that I think it was Caddy who was staying with me. When I was cutting through the field, he was the only one able to stay with me. He pitted onto the mediums when I pit for my second set of softs. And he was relatively staying with me. Like, he would stay within DRS, and then once I caught someone and spent the extra few tenths getting past them in a corner, he would benefit from that and come through with me. So I was thinking, okay, this man's going to be with me the whole time. If he tries to throw something, goodness me, I need to fight back. And I was talking to my engineer the whole time, like, let me know what this man is doing, because if I take my eye off him, he's going to get past me and slow me down. So, yeah, fair play to him, but the result's terrible. I mean, P14 and DNF. I think one of them had a shifter problem. But yeah, for Williams to bring in 2 reserves and both of them to be in such a good position. Caddy qualified second. I think it was Caddy. He qualified second. And then to finish down at the back is criminal. It's very, very unfortunate for him. But like I said about MCL, someone's going to drop... Oh, Glass, I should say. Someone's going to drop down. Someone always ends up dropping down. And it sucks that it's someone who's looking for a race seat. Righty. We move on to Division 2. Which, I mean, this weekend was nothing short of absolutely ridiculous chaos. And that did not discontinue as we moved on to the weekend races. Moved on to Saturday, following the crazy pit stops in Division 4, the wet race in Division 3. Now this race might actually be the most cursed race I've ever commentated on in my life. I genuinely believe that every single driver could be given as driver loser. Because I think that every driver at one point led the race and then crashed. It was the most mental race I think I've ever watched. But for my driver winner, I have to give it to Dodo. Yeah, aggression, confidence, very, very well executed. And if you see, I watched the highlights back and I'm very, very glad I did. Because first of all, my commentary was very solid. But second of all, the most important part, Dodo's confidence, especially going through Ascari, which is one of the most on the limit set of corners you have in the F1 calendar, where the grip points and, second of all, going side by side with someone is so difficult. We've seen that previously this weekend. We saw it with Jason Neek on Friday. We saw it with Dan and Blake on Thursday. There were collisions in these corners. Dodo, and I want to say it was OJ, unreal confidence. You could tell Dodo was at home here, and he was, because it was his home race. Very deserved P2. Very, very easily could have been a P1. Of course, the final attack was made in the parabolica of the final lap, which obviously made the race so much interesting all the way to the end. For what we probably expected to be a fairly uninteresting race with a low attendance, no, I think Dodo deserves driver winner. Fantastic drive from P7 on the grid, so a very poor qualifying. Something happened to him in quali. I think he disconnected, or something happened to him in quali and he crashed, but I don't think it was his fault, because I remember noting on that. But a great drive nonetheless, and a fantastic batch of points for his team. Driver loser, like I said, it could literally be anyone. It could actually literally be anyone. But for this one, I'm giving it to Luca Rosman. He was leading the race and his wheel disconnected and put him in the wall. And it sucks. I'm so glad that he didn't did DNF. Because he broke his wing, he managed to carry on, finished P4, could have been a P1. Could have been a P1. We would have had a 3-car battle for the win between Casper, Dodo, and Rosman if that hadn't happened. And of course this race had happened, because I think 4 times, or maybe 5, the leader crashed in this race. Yeah, let's actually count it. Casper, Malachi, Nick, and Rosman. 4 times the leader crashed. Do you know how ridiculous that is? So yeah, Rosman, my driver loser. It could be anyone, but I'm giving it to Rosman. The reason I'm giving it to Rosman, I'm going to skip a step. My team loser is Mercedes, because that can cover 2. So we had Malachi and we had Ronan, both of them. 2 of the 4 drivers who were leading the race and got taken out. We're going to talk about Ronan first. Ronan coming together with Casper on the exit at turn 2. Now, yeah, very controversial crash. That one sparked a lot of arguments in the chats following the race. My personal opinion, I'm going to keep quiet. Certainly not going to say that here. As much as I say I want to be controversial on this podcast, I love chatting my stuff. I love speaking good and definitely bad about people on this podcast. That's what it's here for. I don't want to speak about a stewarding ticket that genuinely caused chaos in the chat. And I don't want to re-spark that. No one was penalised at the end of that. It's very unfortunate for Kino, who wasn't able to finish the race, as opposed to the counterpart in that crash, which was Casper, who ended up winning. It sucks for him. It was very difficult for him, I'm sure. On the other side of the garage, Malachi taken out by Koi. Same exit at turn 2 in a different way though. Instead of going into the wall on the right, he went spinning into the gravel on the left. I think Koi was penalised for that, if I'm not mistaken. But if not, I mean, it just kind of rubs salt on the wound for Mercedes, a team that I had very harsh words to say at the start of the season. They've picked it up well, and I'll speak about this more in the episode mid-season, which will obviously be 2 episodes away. We've got Hungary yet to go. I'll speak about Mercedes in much more detail in mid-season, fair play to them. They've really stepped it up, and I'm impressed with Tano for coming back and for pushing this team forward. I don't know where they're sat in the OCC right now. I'm going to check that now. They are currently, as we speak, 6th. They've overtaken Red Bull. That is huge. That is fair play to them. If they're able to keep this trajectory, I genuinely think they can finish top 5. It'll be difficult because obviously Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, and Williams are all on form right now. If Mercedes hook it up, they can get top 5, and I think that should be a real push goal for them. That it's not even a push goal; that should be the goal for them. So yeah, fair play to them. But this race really didn't end up well. The fact that both of their drivers were 2 of the 4 that got taken out when leading the race, or lost it when leading the race, I should say, is salt in the wound for them for sure. My team winner, I'm gonna keep my mouth quiet. I don't think anyone deserves team winner. I didn't see any big part of teamwork. I didn't see any big part of chemistry between 2 drivers. I think it was just raw battling, which, I mean, it's not a bad thing. I mean, it produced entertainment. I think that Monza Div 2 will be a race that we're going to remember for a while. I 100% believe that. I think that the words Monza Div 2 in Season 1, because I'm saying Season 1 because I think it will be talked about in the future. I think this is a race that's going to crop up quite a few times. It brought us a lot of things, a lot of entertainment, brought us a lot of chaos, a lot of battles. What it didn't bring us was teamwork, and that's fine. But I don't believe the team can be honoured with team winner if I didn't see it. So that's my reasoning for that. Right, so we move on to Division 1, which was unreal. Also very similar to Division 3, where it had that change between the wet conditions across to the dry. The difference was the wet stayed out for a lot longer, and with the safety car that happened midway through the Inters period, it allowed some of the drivers to pit to new Inters. Now, as a lot of drivers know, the pace gap between old and new Inters is one of the biggest, I think, of any compounds, if not the softs. So that gave drivers a lot of opportunities to switch the strategy midway through. And it did allow my driver winner, Neb, to catch up. He got a drive-through off the line, no mistake, lifted off the clutch too early, very unlucky. Also quite a poor qualifying. I don't remember where he qualified, but I don't remember it being particularly notable. To get a drive-through off the line, stuck him down at last. Safety car, of course, allowed him to catch up to the pack. He did end up pitting as well. That enabled him to cut through the pack. Him and Banjo, who both pit, they ended up cutting through the pack together. And once again, I'm going to talk about my driver winner as well. My team winner. My team winner is Red Bull. Once they were together, they cut through so nicely, so easily. I think there was a couple cracks, specifically when they were battling POR Oliver on lap 14, where you could see there was opportunities. There was a couple of mistakes between their defending, but once again, as we just expected at the start of the season, their teamwork was fantastic. And yeah, for Neb to go from a drive-through P18 at the back all the way up to P3 on merit, and his teammate in P4 right behind him, working together when they got together. Unbelievable. The strategy was flawless, and I think that Red Bull hugely deserve both driver and team winner. My team loser for sure is Raven. I think that it's going to be one that stings for him. First of all, speeding the pit lane, a mistake that we don't usually see from Raven. Second of all, he pit onto the wrong tyre. I'm trying to remember back now. Yeah, so it was a very late safety car, and he was leading the race the majority of the time. I'd argue he was probably the quickest driver on track. He was doing a fantastic job. It was going to be a slam dunk victory, I won't lie. A late safety car came out after a collision, and he sped in the pit lane, and then I'm assuming through anger he didn't switch his tyres, and he went onto the medium, so he's now on the wrong tyres with a 3-second penalty. The only way to now fix that is to go back into the pits and serve that 5 seconds. Realistically, that was the right decision, because it allows him to be genuine on wherever he is on track. That's where he finishes. He went onto the softs, so right tyres, no penalties, but of course he came out in like P14, and he was leading the race all the way through. I think he finished outside the top 10. Just unfortunate, just genuine unfortunate. That's a mistake. That's one of those things where it really shows that F1 is a game of inches. If you make one mistake, that's it. Good example is me in Spain. Me and Bigby colliding turn 1 of the final lap. That could have been a P2, maybe a P1 for me, and it's gone. Very evident. We saw that with Raven as well. He was leading the race the whole time. It's going to be a win. It was going to be a win, I think. And to speed in the pit lane and wrong tyres all went downhill in the matter of 10 seconds. I think from 10 seconds, he went from winning the race to finishing outside the top 10. That's what the difference is in this sport, and it sucks for him. Championship leader, of course, he's still got that lead, but I think a win in his team's home track in a country that means a lot to him would have been big. Very unfortunate. He is my team loser, one of the strongest team losers I think that we've had this season. My driver loser. My team loser is Haas. I think that Oliver, first of all, poor qualifying. We're used to seeing Oliver further up the field than he did. On the other side of the garage, Powell, once again, fantastic. Battling up at the front with Alfie, with Raven, with the Alpha Tauris. Both of them crashed on that 14 in independent incidents. POR Oliver, fair play to him, was 2v1ing the Red Bulls, and it's caught all on stream. I really hope it'll be in highlights as well, which aren't released yet, and ended up locking the rears and spinning. Powell, obviously we didn't see what happened to him on stream because I was following Oliver, but he also spun, I believe, on his own in the Lesmos. No damage as far as I saw, but I mean, for Oliver to spin from P7, Powell from P3, that's a huge batch of points gone, you know, and it just the incredible Haas that we saw in Spain was not performing as well as we maybe expected it to. Definitely my team loser for Monza. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me in this podcast, this post weekend podcast. But you will have to join me. We're back to high downforce next weekend. We're heading across to Hungary for the final race of the first half of the season. Don't think that's the end of content though. Don't you think that? Because after Hungary, we're going to have a mid-season episode. That's going to be talking in depth about all the teams. That's when we get a bit dirty. That's when we start bringing out the bad words, start bringing out the the hate, the real comments, the controversy. I'm definitely ready for that episode, for sure. I've been talking about it for quite a bit. But yeah, excited to talk about that. Of course, we've got Hungary before that. And what a track Hungary is. Such an iconic track as Budapest. And I really look forward to seeing you on track or in the audience there. So I will catch you soon. Bye-bye.